Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the council meeting of April the 19th to order. We have a couple of amendments to the agenda today. We're going to move item 10.2 Police Service Board minutes to item 7.3 and communications and 11.6.2 staff report CAO 22-052 procedure bylaw review. The draft proposed bylaw was replaced due to clerical and formatting errors. I believe two items have been pulled by council. I don't have that item in front of me here. Teresa, do you have for Councillor Martin's item?
Through the mayor, they're actually listed when we get to the CIC minutes.
Okay, so we'll pull those out of the CIC then as we move through the meeting. And then with that, are there any other changes to the agenda from council? Okay, seeing none then, if I could have a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Councillor Rabbits, thanks. Seconded by Councillor Van Passen. All those in favor? And that's carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Seeing none then, we will move on to the consent items. We have two consent items today. Does any committee member wish to pull either of those consent items? All right, seeing none then, if I could have a motion to approve the consent items as presented, that's 5.1, ZNPL 2021364. That's an application that has been received to amend the existing resort residential zone by adding a site-specific special provision to permit smaller lot area, larger lot coverage, and building height for a proposed new vacation home. And 5.2 staff report CS 22-072 regarding the bid award report for RFP EIS ENG 22-72 geotechnical services. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Huffman, thanks. Seconded by Councillor Rabbits. All those in favor? That is carried. We don't have any presentations or deputations this afternoon. We do have a couple items of communication. Does any member wish to pull any of the communication items for further discussion? Councillor Columbus, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, it's 7.1, the memo accompanying bylaw. I think that's what it's with respect to charges. And there was one charge in there for photocopying, which went from 55 cents to 80 cents. And then it said a minimum of $25. Does that mean one page photocopied may cost somebody $25? Is that what I gather from that message?
Teresa, are you able to address that? Ms. Shelley?
Through the mayor to Councillor Columbus, this is a legislative change for the POA photocopying only. So that is correct. If it's one page, there is now a minimum charge that has been approved through the province.
So one page could cost somebody $25.
As it relates to a POA matter, that is correct, but not for regular photocopying for the county.
Okay, so is that provincial kind of legislation then?
That is correct. Yes, there was a regulation that was approved and that's provincial.
Responsible for that. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from any other member? If not, then we'll approve them all together. If I could have a motion to receive communication 7.1 to 7.3 as information. Councillor Michelle, thanks. Seconded by Councillor Van Passen. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the minutes, we have the regular minutes before us today. Council meeting minutes from March 22nd, 2022, open and closed, and the special council meeting minutes from April 12th, 2022, open and closed. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, a mover and seconder to approve the minutes as presented? Not all at once. Councillor Columbus, thanks. Seconded by Councillor Michelle. All those in favor? That is carried. Reports of committee of the whole. We have two reports of committees under this section. I understand Councillor Martin would like to pull resolution 8 regarding the gapping savings and position vacancies to be voted on separately, and Councillor Michelle would like to pull resolution 22 regarding the forestry farm gas well update. Are there any other items that we're looking to pull? Councillor Columbus, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, is this where the Agricultural Advisory Board minutes come?
No, these are just the public hearing and council and committee.
I'll pass then, thanks.
Okay, are there any errors or omissions I should first ask besides those 2 items that have been pulled? Okay, then if I could have a mover and seconder to approve the minutes as presented. Counselor Vanden Rishi, seconded by Counselor Huffman. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, Counselor Martin, would you like to move resolution 8 or an alternate motion on the matter?
Thanks, Mayor Chop. I would like to add additional direction to staff. The motion in full, as it reads, is appropriate to address the salary gapping concerns. However, the position vacancies and the vacancy turnover rate that's addressed in the report is not addressed by way of any motion. So I would like to provide additional direction to staff. I don't know if the clerk would.
Okay, my understanding is there's a further report that's coming forward in May. Al, did you want to touch base on that?
Sure, if I may. As council knows, part of what staff are working on is a 2022 priorities recommendation for this council to consider, and included in that report will be a discussion about our gapping, our turnover strategies to tackle all of that, do some additional benchmarking, and so all that information is going to be coming forward to council next month at committee.
I think that was presented to council in the past a couple of months ago. So with that, I believe that's already coming forward, Councillor Martin, but if you wish to carry on and amend the motion, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I guess I'd look to staff. Specifically, I would be interested in, I was going to provide direction to, sorry, I'll from my back, to staff to look at the numbers and our vacancies and further break them down for council to identify of that 46%, what was backfilling, what was individuals leaving, what was maternity leaves, and so on, to determine I guess how it's calculated, the 46%, to make sure that we're truly looking at vacancies, I believe, as the public has interpreted it, as I may have interpreted it, and ensure that that's accurate. And so as long as those types of statistics and that information will be broken down for council to review next month, then I'm fine to not amend it. However, if it's not the plan of staff to look into those numbers and additionally look into exit interviews and look at causes for leaving and those types of things. If staff doesn't plan to bring that information forward, then I would still look to amend this motion, but I'll pose that question to staff.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, that is intent. Staff have already started to pull together all that analysis for council's consideration, and that'll be part of the May report.
Okay, thank you. I'll leave the resolution number 8 as is.
Okay, if I could have a mover then, Councillor Martin, I'm assuming you'll move that motion, and a seconder for resolution 8. Thank you, Councillor Vanden Rishi. All those in favor? That's carried. Councillor Michelle, I understand that you have pulled resolution 22, and I guess if you wanted to provide some commentary on that, or I can turn the floor over to our CAO.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yes, the purpose of my pulling that is just to get a little bit of updated information from our CAO on the options that were presented during that discussion. So I will let him take it from there. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. So I understand that this has become an emotional topic, and I understand it's raised a lot of concern with some community members. I just want to make it clear that in no way, shape, or form is the county looking to clean its hands of this issue. We will continue to advocate for regional solutions. We will continue to push the province to look at a regional solution to all of the abandoned wells in the area and those that are having some issues. What we see in this recommendation that committee approved last week is a step forward in something that's been discussed without resolution for upwards of 7 years now. by virtue of the fact that the province is stepping in and taking care of this well through its abandoned well program, should be viewed as a success for this county. The absence of doing nothing is not an option for us. We've got a well that continues to leak. We've got a potential environmental issue on our hands, and the county owning that well clearly puts some liability on us. We need to do something. From my perspective, we are in a situation where the engineering report clearly indicated that there was not a foolproof 100% solution on the table. The engineers could not identify a potential solution. If we could, we certainly would have recommended that to council. What we've got in front of us is an option that is clearly something that we are doing to stop the environmental issues that are happening right now with that well, but certainly starts to put us towards a path for a solution, a long-term solution for the residents of Norfolk County and for the regional wells in the area. I think the province stepping up to fund this, to cap this well, is an important first step. And we will continue to work with the province and advocate on behalf of all residents within Norfolk County on the province trying to step in and do the very best that they can to identify each and every one of these wells and provide a solution for those homeowners. So, you know, I wish I could be in front of you and say that we have the 100% solution. We don't have that, but what we do have is a solution that we're going to try to make work. We're hopeful that it will. If it doesn't, we'll tackle that later on, but we certainly have a commitment from the province that they're going to move this forward. They're going to cap this well, and we'll continue to monitor the situation and advocate on everyone's behalf. So with that, I would encourage this council to continue down this path. We're certainly making more progress in the last few months with the province than we had in the last few years, and we're hopeful that this is the start of a new solution to resolving all of these issues countywide.
Thanks, Al. Councilor Michelle, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to our CIO. And I just, I guess to ask Al, that does not preclude the opportunity for those residents in that affected area to continue to express their concerns to the province as well.
Through you, Madam Chair. Absolutely. I mean, we will continue to advocate on their behalf, but the strongest and the best course of action is for our residents to continue to advocate on their behalf, to continue to communicate with the province, with the MNR, with their MPP, to continue to try to resolve these issues and try to get to a solution. This is clearly something that requires some provincial support, and we would encourage all of our residents to continue to advocate and to continue to pressure the province to step in and provide some solutions on a regional level.
Thank you very much, Al.
Councilor Van Der Rishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I haven't got a question, but a comment. I had met with several of the residents that are very close to the situation. And I have great sympathy for them. They have grave concerns, and I totally agree, those concerns are going to have to be continuously brought to the province. But continuously doing studies and doing nothing isn't going to help either. So I know we have to do something, but with caution. So I'm pleased to hear that there will be monitoring and that we're trying to make a solution. This is a difficult situation. You can't please everyone, but at the end of the day, we can't continue to sit and ask for another study. But I'm hoping that these constituents have an opportunity to be able to speak with Matrix, and I don't know if we can make an arrangement for that or if that's a possibility at all, but they would like to go over the study. The report was tabled just to us last week, and that not a lot of time to digest it for them. So if there was options or opportunities for them, that would be appreciated by that group as well. But I will indicate there are people that are concerned about maybe doing nothing and concerned about doing something. So there's both sides to the issue. But like I say, it's been going on for a long time, as long as I know, but something has to be tried so that we can at least try to solve something. That's all I can say. I'm not a scientist. I've not met with these people. I've gone and looked at the situation in the areas, and you can smell it, and you can know, and you know it, and we've all known it for over the years. But it's again a very difficult situation to be in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Den Rishi. Al, did you have any further comments on that you wanted to make with regards to meeting with Matrix?
Through you, Madam Mayor, certainly we can set something else up. I'm not sure what we can do at this time. My understanding is that Matrix did meet with all the stakeholders. They did have some initial discussions with them. The report's been made public. We know, as we've admitted, there's not a 100% foolproof solution here. And so I'm not sure, but we would certainly never restrict anyone from talking and having some additional dialogue if that's what's desired. But I think we do need to move forward, and we need to start moving this issue forward. And if something comes up, we're certainly hopeful that it won't. But if it does, we'll continue to work with the province on additional solutions.
Okay, thanks, Al. So Councillor Michelle, you're willing to move the resolution as presented?
Yes, I am, Madam Mayor.
And a seconder? Councillor Van Passen, thank you. Any further discussion on the matter? Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Reports of advisory committees. Councillor Columbus, this is where you come in. 10.1 is first Agricultural Advisory Board minutes from March 23rd. Floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And as the council representative to the Agriculture Advisory Board, I'm pleased to share with you some points with respect to the minutes. This is a new process that was put upon advisory boards by the clerk's office, and hopefully it'll work going in the future. Just to make note that our chairperson for the Ag Advisory Board is continued to be Dusty Zamanek was elected, and Hayden Dooney was elected as the vice chair. And one of the main items that the board's been working on for several meetings is the forestry bylaw. And there was a letter sent to Mr. Adam Biddle supporting the 2.5 acres or 1 hectare that can be cleared off a farm property, or any property for that matter, I guess, if it goes through the process. And it was actually supported in writing by the Norfolk Federation of Agriculture as well. So there are 2 motions that I would like council to support. And one is resolution number 3. I would just read it. That the presentation by Brandon Sloan, General Manager of Community Development, regarding options for utilizing bunkhouses during off-season be received as information, and that the board nominates Chair Zamanek to join the short-term rental study. And the second.
Okay, can I get you to stop there? Maybe perhaps we can just pass to expedite this. If we could have a seconder for that motion then. Thank you, Councillor Van Passen. Any further discussion on that from council? All those in favor? That is carried.
That's great, Madam Mayor. Resolution number 9 reads that the Director of Roads be requested to provide guidelines to the agriculture community on road entrances and permitting requirements for the next scheduled meeting. And that item has been on the agenda for quite some time, so we'll be glad to clear it up, come before council with approval.
Okay, again, a seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Van Den Rishi. All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor Columbus, I have a question in regards to the discussion with the 2.5 in the letter. What about the discussions over the windrows?
Yes, the windrows, the Agriculture Advisory Board supports removal of windrow hedges.
Was a letter sent in that regards as well?
I can't recall.
I enjoyed attending those meetings. Unfortunately, now it's scheduled at the same time as PSB.
I do believe it's covered off to Adam Biddle. I believe it was.
Okay.
It just wasn't discussed at this particular session.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything further?
That's all. Thank you.
Councillor Martin, 10.3 Tours and Economic Development Advisory Board minutes from March 30th.
Thank you. As you know, the Tourism Committee and Council unanimously supported Year of the Garden. This is a request for additional staff time and energy. No additional staff resources are required. However, our dev team thinks that we can leverage some of our Year of the Garden subcommittee work plan items through newsletters and communications with Norfolk County staff. So the motion reads that staff be requested to promote the Year of the Garden through the initiatives recommended by the Year of the Garden subcommittee and supported by staff as outlined in the work plan, and that applicable Norfolk County boards and committees be encouraged to promote the Year of the Garden, and further that communication staff be requested to develop electronic messaging to promote Year of the Garden. So again, no additional resources needed from staff. They're confident they can accomplish all of these tasks, but it did need to come to council for approval.
Okay, a seconder for Councillor Martin's motion. Councillor Columbus, thanks. All those in favor? That is carried. Telecommunications 10.4 Advisory Committee minutes from March 31st. Councillor Michelli. You wish to discuss any items or move a separate
Madam
motion?
Mayor, I don't have anything from that meeting to discuss.
Okay, perfect. If
Thank
I could have a mover then and a seconder to receive each of the advisory committee minutes as information. Councillor Rabbits, thanks, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All those in favor? That's carried. Staff reports. First one is 11.2.1, staff report CD 22-046. That's regarding Bill 109. And Brandon, I believe you are presenting this report. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. The intent of the report is to provide information about Provincial Bill 109, the More Homes for Everyone Act. It's aimed at speeding up approvals and increasing housing. So we're generally supportive of the overall goals, as housing's a critical need in many communities. The bill has legislative changes to various provincial acts, and there's some new guidelines, including changes to the Planning Act. Further to the report, a couple key highlights include a tiered refunding approach of municipal application fees for official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, and site plans if they don't meet certain timeframes for an approval or a decision. There's some additional powers given to the minister to refer certain official plan matters to the Ontario Land Tribunal for recommendation or decision. There's a series of other changes about complete application requirements for site plans, what can't be conditions of subdivisions, allowing old subdivisions that have lapsed to essentially come back to life. There's some items, community benefit charge and transit area parkland items that aren't directly related to Norfolk. And there's also a community infrastructure and accelerator tool that is included to essentially jump provincial or local policy hurdles in order to move forward with applications that maybe need broader policy changes and that have the support of municipal council. So in the report, we do identify that although we are faced with record high volumes of applications and permits, along with some resourcing challenge to try and keep pace, we do continue to institute changes to our various development processes to streamline and find efficiencies. We wanted to flag with this report this information as there could be some potential financial or resource impacts if we have this provincial legislation that's essentially looking at municipal refunds, and that's a key source of income or revenue for development applications. Also, we're continuing to review this matter and working with our financial folks on not only the process reviews, but user fee reviews. As of the writing of this report, we had not been directly notified, but I did review the posting on the provincial ERO site. It did request comments by April 29th. We did receive notification last week from the province that there's a municipal webinar this week about it. But having said this, I just checked on the status and it appears as the bill has already gone through provincial standing committee last week and already received royal assent. So as such, the intent of this report originally was to provide some commentary to the province and submit for information, but now at this point in time, it may be more about information. So with that, I'll turn it over back to council in case there's any questions or discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Questions from council? Councilor Rabbits.
Thank you, and through you. I'd received some interesting information from Ontario's masonry professionals. We subscribed to a newsletter. They were reacting to the province's announcement in February and have some information pulled from a March article. The CEO of the masonry professionals stated that communities should be concerned by the recommendations to eliminate some development charges for projects with fewer than 10 housing units. This would make development more affordable for developers, but not for homeowners. Homes need to be serviced, and if that cost is not paid through development charges, will end up on the shoulders of the property taxpayer, therefore undercutting the affordability by raising the tax burden. I was hoping for staff to have some commentary on development charges specifically, and I was interested if you had also picked up on this point of eliminating development charges for builds that are fewer than 10 housing units. Can we have a response, Brandon?
Yeah, through the mayor. My understanding is that there is a number of recommendations that have come from a housing affordability task force that the province organized. And so some of these changes in Bill 109 are related to recommendations and follow-up from that, but not all of the changes. So the specific one that Councillor Rabbits has mentioned, I do not see identified in Bill 109 under the schedule for changes to the Development Charges Act at this time. I know that finance staff and myself are continuing to monitor that. At this point in time, Bill 109 looks like the main change about the DC Act involves posting a statement on our website. And there's one other requirement in there. I do not see anything about the less than 10 units.
Thank you, and through you. So just for clarity, the bill that we're discussing today is separate and apart from this task force that's been struck and some of the recommendations flowing out from that task force. Since we're a little late to provide commentary on this bill, Brandon, do you foresee us having an opportunity to perhaps provide some feedback or some information for recommendations coming from this task force? And what would that look like in terms of reporting these findings to council?
Through the mayor, that's a good question. I don't think we were directly involved in this particular task force that was created. There are a number of recommendations. Some of them are more significant than others, and some are perhaps still under discussion. Staff can endeavor to look into it further. Usually the opportunity, if we're not involved in the original task force, is with the draft materials that come out. So this is one of the implementation components of some of the recommendations. It was just put in for first reading, I think just came out March 30th. And so then it just has gone forward very rapidly since then. So there's very minimal time to review some of these matters. In the past, there's been more time and more opportunities for the municipality to get involved. We can also work with our industry partners in the development industry to find out if there are other opportunities as well.
Thank you, Brandon. And just one more final question, if I may, through you, Madam Chair. We are looking forward to having some information about development charges, and we're having a review currently undergoing. Can you please confirm when we're expected to receive a report in council pertaining to development charges specifically?
Sure, through the mayor. I know that our friends in finance are coordinating the development charges background study and bylaw review that's been ongoing. There is a work plan in place, and there's a few steps that are involved, including further review on our infrastructure and our financing components, an industry stakeholder session, and a report to council. I'll defer to Ms. LaPlante if she wishes to add to that, but I know that there is a schedule for the coming month.
Thank you, Brandon. I just want to, it's a good opportunity actually just to let council know, we just finished a conversation with our consultants. So one of the things that is just holding us up at this point in time, which may delay us slightly, we will come back with and provide council with a firm timeline once we have another meeting with our consultant. We just received the information regarding the IUWS and the presentation from Mariana, which the consultants are building that into our development charge study. So that's just going to take us a little bit more time updating that information, and then we should be back on track.
Okay, Councillor Columbus, did I see your hand up there to begin with?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just a comment and question. 2 weeks ago, I attended the Conservation Ontario meeting, which was an assembly of 36 conservation authorities across the province. And they too are quite concerned about some of this particular act, Bill 109. They're concerned about frontline staff challenges, trying to fill positions that are qualified because there's a real shortage of qualified personnel to put these through the process so quickly. And also the cost recovery part if a municipality gets fined. So there's concern throughout the province when it comes to making this work. The question I have is with respect to our water supply in Port Dover, Simcoe, Brandon. How does that fit into the equation to move these projects along without being sent to the land tribunal or something of that nature? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, through the mayor, we do have a number of communities where we have the water situation. I think there's been some patience on behalf of the industry as it relates to Port Dover. At this present time, we are processing applications in Port Dover towards decisions and towards agreements. We can't have building permits at this time, but that at least gets us to the point then of being able to consider these applications and these timelines. The one thing I would flag is that we are going to have more development. We are going to have more pressures in Port Dover and in Simcoe and in Waterford and in Delhi and in many communities. And with this added item about of refunds for applications on the timelines, staff are doing an amazing job and they're doing their best, and we've really tightened it up on the zoning amendments. But we're in the same situation that those conservation authorities mentioned. And in our connection with other rural municipalities in Ontario, any municipality actually, are having the exact same challenges of both planning and engineering staff, qualified individuals. There's a shortage. The recruitment process is not easy, and this is going to put even more pressure on it. And so we're going to have to rise to that challenge.
Thank you, Brandon.
Councillor Van Den Rishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'm going to use Bill 101 as a segue. Recently, the federal budget came out with some dollars that would be allocated. Is there any, since it is difficult, and you've just mentioned it with staffing, is there a possibility to use some of those dollars that should obviously be allocated down here to private staff solutions, that can help us over the hump? Is there a way of using that, and I don't know exactly who in staff would be able to answer that.
Yeah, through the mayor, that's always an option that we are trolling, the different grants or funds that might be available. That federal announcement gave some possibility and hope. You don't know if it's going to be more allocated through CMHC for distribution as part of the housing programs or not. I did look into the province of Ontario does have a fund to assist with streamlining development and housing that they announced as part of a housing summit earlier this year, a $45 million fund. However, it's for the 39 largest urban municipalities, of which Norfolk does not apply. There is a municipal modernization program of more modest amount that we were successful on a grant, but that's more in we utilized about $10,000 range and doesn't quite accommodate staffing resources.
It's Vanna Rishi, go ahead.
Just to continue with that, but the challenges of using private engineering or to assist us over the time that we're short, is that a possibility?
Through the mayor, that is one of the options that we have been discussing and exploring amongst others.
Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Mayor Chop. Through you to staff, I would be happy to move the recommendation, but I'd also like to make an amendment and add additional area of concern, even if it's just for information purposes. Specifically, the concern would be the reduction to public input times. I know that's a big hurdle for this council, and in some instances, we've actually added additional public meetings, and that's been a very difficult thing to navigate, making sure that we have the consultation, but yet we are also meeting the timelines. So with further crunched and reduced timelines, there's definitely going to be an impact on the public input, and I believe that was one of the specific recommendations in the task force anyways. So I'd like to see that area of concern added, but I'm happy to move and amend that motion.
I'll come back to you in 1 second. I just have one question for Brandon. Anything further from council first? Councillor Columbus.
Yes, I'm reading the recommendation here on page 150 of the agenda package. And I know it mentions to send this to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, but I'm wondering, should we not send it to our MPP as well? So he's aware of our concern.
Maybe he can make it part of his campaign platform. Brandon, just a question for you. In the letter from the Ontario home builders, this is just more of a curiosity. The first bullet point says requiring delegation of site plan control decisions from municipal councils to staff. Is that unique to, it says Proposed Planning Act and City of Toronto Act. So is that unique to City of Toronto? We don't have, council doesn't retain that authority in Norfolk County, except for those items or those developments where we've specifically requested it.
Through the mayor to the mayor, there is a change in Bill 109 about that, and it does require all municipalities in Ontario that they must delegate to staff for site plan approval authority for new applications. So there
That I
obviously
understand.
are some
So there were
communities that
certain
don't have it.
municipalities. So then in the City of Toronto, it must be then under the City of Toronto Act that they specifically delegated that authority to council. We've never held that authority in Norfolk County. I wasn't aware that other municipalities, their councils actually retain that authority.
Yeah, through the mayor, my understanding is there must be some municipalities that have retained some authority for some site plans, whereas many have delegated through a bylaw to a staff designate for site plan approvals, which does help with the timelines. So I think Norfolk I think we're well positioned, and it doesn't necessarily change anything we're already doing.
Interesting. Okay, thanks. Councillor Martin, I'll turn it back over to you for your amended motion.
Sure. Teresa, I'd like to move the recommendation as printed on page 150 with the addition of item D, concerns surrounding reduced public input times. And I'm happy to add in Councillor Columbus's suggestion that a letter be circulated to MPP Barrett's office.
Through the mayor to Councillor Martin, do you want me to put the motion up on the screen or just read it out? Okay. Councillor Martin has moved and will need a seconder that report CD 22046 Bill 109 More Homes for Everyone Act 2022 be received as information, and that the comments from report CD 22046 Bill 109 along with any additional staff and council comments be submitted to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and the local MPP as part of the provincial commenting period, including A, concern regarding provincial legislation that would financially penalize municipalities and potentially impact taxpayers to offset fees that should be paid by growth should stringent provincial development timelines not be met. B, the need for increased funding resources to assist with further staff capacity requirements to meet the timelines. C, clarity on timelines for agency feedback, provincial review, applicant obligations, and other details about implementation of the proposed refunds. And D, concerns surrounding reduced public input times. And further, that the province continue to further consult and work with rural municipalities, their housing authorities and service managers, nonprofits, and industry stakeholders on funding plans for housing and for streamlined development approvals in rural municipalities.
Verna seconder, Councillor Martin, sorry, moving it, seconded by Councillor Huffman. Further discussion on that from council? Yeah, all those in favor? That's carried. Moving on to 11.6.1, that's staff report CAO 22-050 regarding the summer student wages budget amendment. And Al, I guess you're going to introduce this initially and then Morgan, or, oh, sorry, Aaron. Didn't see that you were with us there. I'll turn it over to you then, I'm assuming.
Thank you, Mayor Chop and rest of council. So through the chair, I'm before you this afternoon on behalf of SLT and HR to present report CAO 2250 and seek council's approval for a budget amendment related to summer student wages. Since 2018, and as the province continues to increase minimum wage rates, we have and continue to experience a collapse in the wage grid for our summer student positions. As a result, there are summer student positions that provide leadership and oversight to other student positions that are now being compensated at the same rate of pay. Historically, there has been at least a minimum of 25 cents wage difference between such positions. Staff have surveyed other municipalities who employ summer students, and of those that have responded, the majority have a wage grid similar to the job evaluation system being proposed, and their wages range between $15 per hour and $17.50 per hour. In keeping in line with the council's strategic priorities, our goal is to attract and retain youth. We've seen over the last few years that youth retention has become a greater issue with higher student mobility and choices available to students. And having a strong student representation can lead to an opportunity for attraction of talent to appropriate vacant positions that become available when students are seeking employment after graduation. Staff have applied for funding through the Canada Summer Job Grants Program to help offset the increase of costs related to this report. Just as a reference point, in 2021, Norfolk County received approximately $197,000 in grant dollars through this program, although we're still awaiting confirmation for 2022. As you're all aware, students are integral to the operations of Norfolk County. Students are eager, they're willing to learn, they bring fresh energy and new ideas to the workplace and make an immediate impact on our organization. In order to maximize the number of students that we're able to hire, you will see that we are recommending the implementation of a tiered job evaluation structure for student positions that takes into consideration factors such as education level, experience level, accountability, and supervisory responsibility, as well as proposing a 25-cent increase for all returning students. This is outlined as options number 1 and number 2 of the report. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
The question I have, Aaron, on page 171, the grid that you have, when you looked at comparing us to Haldeman, is that the same grid that they're using?
No, through you, Mayor Chop, to the rest of council. Haldeman, if we actually calculated what their percentages are, they are $15 minimum wage. Their 10% increase would be $16.50, and their 35% would be $20.25 an hour. So this is quite a bit lower than what Haldeman County currently has in place.
Okay, thanks. Anything, any other questions from council? And if not, does somebody wish to move the staff recommendation? Councillor Huffman, go ahead.
Wasn't sure I wanted to ask this question. Having had 4 children who have gone through the summer job searches and things like that and on to post-secondary, can we not do better than 25 cents? It just really doesn't seem like that's cutting it to me. I wouldn't be able to support just 25 cents. And we're looking at a comparator in terms of Haldeman County, and theirs is quite substantially higher than ours. And I think we've learned our lesson in terms of staff going to Haldeman County. There's nothing, I don't think, to stop summer students from working in another county either. So I would propose that we look at a higher rate than 25 cents.
So just for clarity, Aaron, perhaps my understanding is the bands are increasing significantly from what they are currently.
So
Perhaps significantly is a strong word, but there's more than that 25% increase on the band itself. I think that's where the confusion is. So we are increasing the bands by more than 25 cents.
yeah, through the mayor to the rest of council, that is correct. So if you look at option 1, the bands are stretching between $15 an hour to $17.25. The 25 cents was a recommendation on returning students as an incentive to come back to Norfolk County year after year.
Councilor Van Den Rishi, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. About the summer students, have we got significant, or do we have significant applications from students to work?
Through you, I just let me pull up my stats here. So we currently have, in 2022, we currently have 104 positions available. We have 81 students hired and confirmed, and of 81, 47 of those are returning students.
Oh, you want to repeat that? So out of your 104 that you're looking for, 81 you have settled in, and those are returning students.
Yep, just for clarification through the mayor to Councillor Van Den Rishi, we have 104 positions available. 81 of those positions have been hired and confirmed, and they'll start in a couple weeks or next week, I believe. And of the 81, 47 of them are returning students.
47, okay. So that's a fair amount that are returning. But out of the 104 that you're looking for, how many applications have you received?
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Den Rishi, I don't have the number of applications in front of me. I'm happy to look that up and get back to you.
Okay, I would appreciate that, as well as it tells us whether our pay schedule here that we're looking at is sufficient or not, because people apply at $15 an hour. It is a competitive workspace out there, even for students, because farmers and other businesses and factories will hire students. And this to me is under competitive wage in my mind. But I do have one more question. When an applicant applies, a student applies, do you send a letter or acknowledgement whether they've received or not received a position? I'm wondering, like, if they didn't receive the position, do you still send them a letter saying, or email or whatever?
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Den Rishi, all students apply through our applicant tracking software, Workable, and so it's all tracked through there. So students they would receive an offer letter like any other employed staff member, and if they are not successful through the interview process, they will receive an email through our applicant tracking system.
So it is received. Is it and time-wise, can you tell me your timeline?
So the positions have been open since December. They've been posted, and so we keep open positions. You can still apply to this date. And so once they've gone through the system, we try to move them through as quickly as possible. If a student has not heard back from us, please have them reach out to the HR department, and we can follow up on the status of their application.
And you've received last year you received approximately $197,000 from the student youth program that's offered through the province. What is the number you're looking at for this year?
So through the mayor to Councillor Van Den Rishi, last year we received $197,000. We had 119 student positions last year, so we're down in the number of positions this year. So we're looking at something comparable to that. I'm hoping that we receive the funding for those positions. Now, just as a point of clarification, the summer job program, they can change year to year the criteria for what you would receive funding for. The last couple of years, they've been open to any student positions. What we've experienced is, in a couple of years, they were, only for museum students or only in camp programs. But this year every year we apply for every position that we hire in Norfolk County.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Does somebody wish to move the staff recommendation? Counselor Michelle, seconded by Counselor Columbus. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to staff report CAO 22-052 regarding the procedural bylaw review. I'm not sure, Al or Teresa, which one of you is taking this, but
through the mayor to council. So this report is before council today, ultimately for information only. As council is aware, the clerk's office has been undertaking a review of the current procedural bylaw since last fall. We have completed a high level of our review and some detailed commentary. So we want an opportunity to get it on the table to provide notification to council and the public that the review is underway. The initial draft is before council, has been circulated to council, and what we're requesting is a 30-day public consultation period where we will provide an online survey for the public to provide feedback related to public participation at meetings, notification, public access to meetings, as well as providing them an opportunity for some general commenting on the procedural bylaw as a whole. During that 30-day period, we will also move forward with some direct individual counselor consultations to provide informational purposes about the importance of a procedural bylaw and context related to what should be looked for in a strong procedure bylaw, as well as allow council to provide some informal feedback. The end of the consultation periods, the clerk office will put together a more comprehensive report that will contain all of the feedback that we've obtained, as well as a finalized initial draft that can be brought forward to a CIC meeting for council to review and debate appropriately and determine what kind of changes should be in our procedure bylaw. So again, the intent of today's report is just to put it formally on the table for information, as well as to allow council to authorize us to move forward with a public consultation process. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
thanks, Teresa. Questions from council? Not seeing any. So with that, if I could have a mover for staff's recommendation, Councillor Rabbit, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? That is carried. Staff report CAO 22057 regarding the SMS Awareness Month. And Al, is that yourself that's presenting this, or?
Through the mayor to council, I'll take this one as well. So this is just really a simple report that's before council. We do have a policy that allows the clerk to make a determination on proclamations, but because this came in collaboration with a flag raising request, we just decided to put them together. So MS Awareness Month is targeted for May. The Grand Erie chapter of the MS Society of Canada has asked that Norfolk County proclaim May as MS Awareness Month, which the clerk's office is in support of, as well as to allow us to raise a flag to acknowledge that as per our county's current flag protocol policy. So just looking for council support on that.
Thanks, Teresa. Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Chop. I'm happy to move that, and I'd like to make a couple comments in debate.
Okay, any questions on the floor? All right, go ahead.
Sorry, if I can, through the mayor, can we have a seconder of that?
Sorry, Teresa. Councillor Van Den seconding, and floor is yours, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. So I know that Norfolk County formally has proclaimed May to be MS Awareness Month, but as a former employee of the MS Society, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to share that Canada has one of the highest MS rates worldwide. 93,000 Canadians live in private households, suffer from MS, with another, 4,000 or 5,000 in long-term care facilities just in Canada alone. So the MS Walk is here in Simcoe, and it's an excellent fundraiser on May 29th. You can visit their website to register. So I'm happy to support this initiative because there are a lot of Norfolk County community members specifically living with MS, and many of them contribute even on our accessibility committees and so forth. So great initiative to support.
Councillor Huffman, did you have any further comments to add? All right, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to bylaws. Does any member wish to pull any of the bylaws before us today? Okay, I'm not seeing any. If I could have a motion to provide a third reading, first to bylaw 2021-106 regarding the Highway 6 train. I'll need a mover, Councillor Van Passen, seconded by Councillor Rabbits. All those in favor? That's carried. A mover to provide a third reading to bylaw 2021-107 regarding the pod drain. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Michelle. All those in favor? That is carried. And then a mover to approve the following bylaws: 2022-22, 2022-25 to 2022-28 inclusive, 2022-30 to 2022-31 inclusive, 2022-33, 2022-34, 2022-36 to 2022-39 inclusive, and bylaw 9Z 2022 inclusive, that the bylaws be signed by the mayor and clerk and affixed with a corporate seal. Councillor Van Den Riese, seconded by Councillor Columbus. All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor Huffman, over to you for your motion regarding the Waterford Land Use Planning Framework.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Sorry, Mike. I spoke to this last week and read the notice of motion. What the purpose behind this is that there are numerous building proposals occurring in Waterford. It has led to a lot of public discussion and concern amongst individuals currently living in Waterford. Obviously, there's been concerns which were confirmed last week to not be of issue in regards to the water situation in Waterford. We have quite a bit of capacity and there are no concerns there. But I feel it prudent in terms of looking at Port Dover as a template for what can possibly go wrong when we don't have a secondary plan. And I would like to propose that we review of the land use planning framework and a Waterford plan, and that we look into our 2023 budget for the funds to provide this study. I feel the residents of Waterford deserve this, not just Waterford, but Ward 7, as it affects many hamlets as well. And I would like to hope that I have the support of members around the table. Thank you.
Councillor Huffman, a seconder for Councillor Huffman's motion. Councillor Martin, thanks. Any further discussion on that? Councillor Van Passen, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a little confused on what is the difference that Councillor Huffman is asking for. Like, we are in the midst, or staff is in the midst of doing a comprehensive review of all the urban areas and hamlet areas. We're in the midst of doing the review on the water situation. Could I get a bit more specifics on what the request is for specifically Waterford here?
Councillor Huffman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, through you, Mayor Chop, to Councillor Van Passen. Yes, you can get more specifics. Waterford currently has one stoplight and a crosswalk. We have experienced in the past couple years exponential growth, and we're in the process of receiving multiple, and I mean multiple, intensification proposals for development. There are concerns regarding commercial lands possibly being utilized, and we've got agricultural lands in the mix. And I feel that it's prudent in terms of maintaining the integrity of Waterford that we look at a secondary plan study for this town. It doesn't necessarily, I think that the water issue is one thing, which applies to the entire county, but as a councillor for Ward 7 and to preserve the integrity of my community, I would like to have a secondary plan done.
Further?
Well, maybe I could ask if Brandon is still available What is the difference between that and the comprehensive review that's going on right now? Like, you know, is it, I think Councillor Huffman looking basically the same things, what the process that was going on in Dover right now to get down a little bit more specific? And I hope we're not double doing the work twice, I guess, so.
Just for clarity as well, though, Councillor Van Passen, this is just to put this to next budget period, so it would still be debated next year. All right, Brandon, go ahead.
Thanks through the mayor. The growth management study and official plan conformity review that's underway right now is looking at, we'll call it macro level items, our growth projections, settlement boundaries, our intensification opportunities, our industrial lands and our residential lands. And so what's proposed would be a next logical step after that, which is to review the land use policies and the zoning for specific areas in more detail. And so it's not necessarily a duplication, but could be a next step. Having said that, we obviously need to balance it with the other communities that we are looking at the detailed land use review in various downtowns as well. And so referring it to the budget and the work plan seems appropriate for staff standpoint at this point.
Anything further, Councillor Van Passen?
No, thank you. I think I got my answer. This is just the logical next step of a process we're going through right now.
Councillor Vanden Rishi, go ahead. I didn't see your hand. Okay, my apologies. Anything further from council? All those in favor? And that's carried. Any further notices in motion today? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to general announcements before we go into closed session. General announcements, Councillor Huffman, go ahead.
Sorry, did you not say something earlier about the Police Services Board, that you were moving that somewhere?
My apologies, you're
That's
right,
okay.
that is out of order.
Through the mayor, it got moved to communications and we accepted it as part of communications.
And Teresa is also correct. Was there something you wanted to discuss on that?
No, I just thought there was going to be some discussion regarding the meeting, but that's okay. We're good. I'm good. I just noticed that it had been kind of moved, so it must have got mixed in there, and I'm good.
Through the mayor, just for Councillor Huffman's knowledge, we had a number of staff on holidays last week, and that just goes to show how much I need my staff when they're here, because those little things get misplaced on the agenda. So I just had it on the wrong place, so we've moved it to the right place.
Okay, any general announcements? You're first, if
General announcements. I would like to thank the Waterford Chamber of Commerce and the Waterford Heritage Agricultural Museum and all of the children who scooped up over 5,000 eggs, I think in a record time of approximately 10 minutes at the extravaganza on the weekend. Thank goodness we had a little bit of decent weather for that before everything all the good weather, I was going to say a bad word, went way of a basket for the Easter weekend. I also would like to bring forward for anyone who is interested, there are a number of, there's a group of citizens in Waterford. There was a Ukrainian cookbook that was published a number of years ago within the community, and they are 3 members of the community in Waterford are established a group to reprint this Ukrainian cookbook and send the proceeds to the people of Ukraine during their time of conflict and war. So if anyone is interested, please reach out. I can direct you to the people in charge, and the cookbook sell for $20. And from what I understand, it looks like Norfolk County will be providing some advertising in this cookbook, and it will be a great community resource for individuals down the road. Thanks.
thank you, Councillor Huffman. Any further general announcements, Councillor Columbus?
Well, I just hope they have a good recipe in that cookbook for pierogies and cabbage rolls.
I'm sure we got you covered there.
Anything further? All right, seeing none then, I will need a motion to move into closed session at 2:05 PM to discuss 16.1 in regards to the funding updates for the Port Rowan water treatment facility pursuant to sections 239(2)H of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended as the subject matter pertains to information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory, or a crown agency of any of them. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Michelli, seconded by Councillor Ravitz. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And if I could just ask the mayor if we could just have a 3-minute break while we move into closed.
Sure, we'll take a break. And then for anybody, I guess, that's still watching, it's unlikely that anything will be coming out of closed session other than direction being provided to staff. So that effectively will conclude the meeting other than the reading of the confirming bylaw.
Welcome to Passionate Folks, a blog and video series about people who live in Norfolk. People that get involved in our community, people that are passionate about living here. We sit down, have a conversation, and learn about their stories. Welcome to Passionate Folks. I am Emily. I love to connect with people. I love to ask questions and get to know people better. So today I'm sitting here with Scott. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So Scott, to start, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and where you live?
My name's Scott McCrae. I'm a chef here in Norfolk County. I'm the chef at David's Restaurant in town, and I live in Port Dover, or just outside. And yeah, all my family's from Port Dover. I moved here in high school and left for a bit and moved back, and now
Made it your home.
Made it my home. Yeah, it was my home before. I realized it was my home while I was away, and yeah.
Came back to the roots.
Yes, exactly.
So as I do with every guest, I ask you to pick a place in Norfolk County for us to do this interview.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me where you invited me and why you picked this place.
Well, we're here at Matt's Fruit Barn, just outside of town, and it was a pretty easy choice. I know we wanted something that was kind of related to what I do. We were always talking about how diverse Norfolk County is as far as things that grow here, and it's like #1 for so many different fruits and vegetables. And one of the first things I always think about is just, especially considering what job I have, is food. Norfolk County produces so much food and grows so much food. This property here that Christine and Jess and the family have, kind of, they grow more things here than I can even think of. Like, you look
It's a good
around.
representation of Ontario's garden when
Exactly.
you visit this place, isn't it?
Yeah. This is kind of just like a little example of what this area has to offer.
So I love to dig in people's passion and see what lights them up. And I'd love to know about you. I think I may have a little bit of an idea, but what are you most passionate about?
That's a tough one. I think definitely I'm passionate about food and what I do. That's something that since I was young, I've always associated memories. Like a lot of people with songs or with like smells or things, it'll just trigger a memory. And a lot of my early childhood memories have to do with food. There'll be a weird little thing that I remember, like, oh, that was my first like black olive I ever had, or that was like, there's a lot of memories that kind of are associated with that.
Big connections to
Big
food
ones,
and
yeah. Like
stories.
the mulberry tree in my grandparents' backyard, and we just stand for hours underneath just like eating mulberries. And
So I know you work long hours. It's a busy season for you in the restaurant. When you have some downtime, where do you like to go in Norfolk? Where do you like to have a good time?
Well, I'm lucky that all my family lives here. I moved away for a while. I moved to the city. I was in Yukon for a bit. Just being back and being able to see family is I don't get to see them enough still, but it's definitely a big reason why I came back and something I like to do. Friends too, you know, just hanging out on local patios or at their house or watching Leafs games. Well, I've always been kind of, from my grandma when I was a kid, I got really into like birds. Yeah, so I mean, there's binoculars in the truck right now with the bird
Like
book.
go to Long Point or what?
Oh,
is
well,
your
of course, like that's Long Point. Well, around here, like, I'm lucky I live out of town. You can drive out and see the tundra swans at Long Point when they come through. It's really a mecca for that if you're into that. I'm a bit of a weird, obsessive record collector, and I've got a lot of records.
Do you like to see live music around? Is
Oh, of
there
course.
decent bands that are around that you like to?
Oh, tons. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's great. I mean, like a lot of my friends are musicians, and there's not a ton of downtime, but when there is, it's like sometimes just things that are just nice and relaxing. It always helps when you have like a local brewery.
And there's a lot to pick from, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones. It's really exploded, especially since I moved back from Toronto about 10 years ago, and even in that time, it's the wine scene, the beer scene, the ciders, like all that has just exploded, and it's all really good. Like,
so do you think, like, just back to the winery and the brewery, like, after high school and when you wanted to leave and get to the city and get out of here and coming back and finding it like right here?
Well, even when I originally moved back, I was intending on going back to the city, and I came back and just realized that this is where I wanted to be. This is where my heart is. This is where I really belong, and I have friends there, but the friends that I have here are friends I've had since I was like in high school, right? So there's something there where there's
We live in a pretty cool place.
Yeah, it's great.
I thank you so much for your time. I love connecting with you and learning about your passions, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks.
My name is Jim Toombs. I'm an Associate Purchasing Specialist here at Toyotetsu, also known as TTCA. Here at Toyotetsu, we're responsible for supplying Toyota with car parts, mainly automotive frame for the Lexus, the Corolla, and other Toyota models. I started here in May of 2016. I was in welding. Here I am 2 years later, and I'm a salaried position. The job itself it's challenging. There are challenges in what I have to do every day, and for that I enjoy it. It's not monotonous day in, day out. There's new challenges that I'm confronted with and new tasks that I have to do. A high school student who's like, I'm not sure, I think this is an excellent opportunity to kind of answer that question for themselves. They can see what kind of the working world is like, as well as pick up skills. There are plenty of opportunities here. For example, for me, I was in welding, but that didn't mean I had to stay there. There's opportunities in stamping, where you'd learn different skills entirely. PC, again, the same thing, some different skills needed that you'd learn. Though we make car parts and they're welded, there are a lot of departments and areas that support that.
My name's Aaron Pace. I'm a yard manager here at Townsend Lumber. We're a sawmill that produces lumber. We make anywhere from rail ties to timber frame home products, kiln-dried lumber, which is used for wood cabinets and furniture. We also do pallet components, and we also do stakes for farming. We ship container loads to the Middle East, we ship it to Asia. We have gone to Mexico, Singapore. We've shipped to many different locations. My father has worked here for 30 years. He got me a part-time job as a summer student. I started as a regular piler, as a laborer at the entry-level position, and with hard work and dedication, I have been promoted through the system, and it took 9 years to become a supervisor. I enjoy the freedom of the job, like outside working with the heavy industrial stuff, talking to the range of customers and the way we produce things for them.
My name is Cam Kirkwood. I'm a production supervisor at
Okay, welcome back, everyone. If I could have a motion to reconvene in open session. Councillor Van Rieschie, seconded by Councillor Van Passen. All those in favor? That's carried. The only thing to report out of closed session is just that the report was received from staff as information. And moving on, I will need a confirming bylaw. That will be bylaw 2022-35, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Norfolk County at this regular council meeting held on the 19th day of April 2022, and the bylaw be approved, signed by the mayor and clerk, and affixed with the corporate seal. Mover and seconder, Councillor Rabbit, seconded by Councillor Michele. All those in favor? That is carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Councillor Huffman, and seconded by Councillor Columbus. All those in favor? That is carried. And with that, meeting is adjourned. We will see you for the first Tuesday of May for public hearing.